IVATOPIA'S Battle of Britain. Our leaders wanted to take Britain and eventually Europe, to unite all countries in an everlasting peace, but all we had to begin with was our tiny little village and a big vision. Many of our villagers need to be drafted into the army to begin our campaign. A lot of them sit idle, preparing for the Great War, and the many battles soon to come their way. For many of our new soldiers, they had never ever stepped out the village before this day. Green grass, the air felt amazing to them as they marched into the unknown. Before long, a nearby village had begun to send their own troops at us. Many troops died on both sides as the birds flew down to pick at our dead and our enemy's dead. We were inexperienced, but we fought on. Some of our soldiers never even seen blood before this day, and today they saw so much, too much for some. We felt we couldn't lose this early on in the campaign, our first ever battle, but some of our troops still ran like the cowards they were. Our leader gave a tactical retreat. The numbers were just too overwhelming. But we had weakened them in the battle, and some of the troops pulled back. Luckily for us, they were in our territory now. As we started to take our first captives, our first slaves to work in our resources, like our mines, looking after our cows, producing food. We went out again to get rid of the stragglers. Some of our troops were coming to reinforce us. And we brought them into a trap. They didn't have a chance. Eventually we captured the village and started to make supply lines so we can get resources passed back into, and we started spreading out, taking more supply lines and putting our slaves to work. Let the enemy give us our resources. As more days passed, we started capturing more villages, capturing more supplies, and having many more battles. More troops on either side lost lives, but we were advancing. Our campaign was going well. Our leaders led us into battle after battle. We saw more enemies on the horizon. We maybe would not kneel as easily as our current enemies. We then realised we had a problem. We created too many supply lanes. Our gold was in the minus. We had to start from scratch. We were stretching too fast, too soon. So our leaders demolished every supply lane we had and began to slowly add just the ones we needed, so we can carry on supporting our growing armies and expanding empire. Our enemy started to create bridges into our lands over the rivers. We had to try to defend. So we carried on to get deeper into enemy territory to take what was rightfully ours. We took more captives, more slaves, to keep our resources growing strong, but we still took losses ourselves. As more and more days passed, we grew even more. But we were running out of food in some of our new locations, and the chance of rebellion, rebels and rebellions was high. We had to spare more troops to defend them, more guards to keep the people at bay. They will come to love us one day, but that day was not today. Then we came across one of these other great towns, and we began our first siege of this town. But they were tough. Our leaders didn't suspect the resistance they gave. If anything, I feel they underestimated them. But we still tried to capture them, get some more slaves. The weather wasn't helping. The horrible rain, the smell of the dead bodies as we walked over them to march further. On the west, some of our armies moved, while on the east, the rest of our army moved as well. So we tried to expand in both directions so we wouldn't be hit in the back, so to speak. Their troops still ran like the cowards they were, but that village, that town, whatever you like to call it, would not give up. We even got to see the beautiful Stonehenge, but we couldn't wait. As we saw some of their troops fortifying bridges, to taking our own and executing them, the barbarians. More and more troops, more and more raiding parties were appearing, as our leaders scrambled to get our forces into place, scrambled to take the towns so we can fight on one front instead of two fronts. The enemy was having none of it. Our forces were split, our resources were low. Something had to give. Our brave troops fought on, trying to reinforce their brethren. We were getting desperate. We couldn't even spend time capturing them. We had to keep moving, fight on, make them retreat and move. We had to be at the next location. Our troops' food supply was getting low. we tried to stop the raiding parties. We were fighting a losing battle. We had to push on to the east and take it so we could not get hit in the back and put our full force into the west or the east. Didn't like that idea and were slowing us up as much as they could. We kept on sending troop after troop, trying to take them. We had to, or our empire would fall apart. We didn't have enough troops to fight on two fronts. So on the west, it was more of a delaying tactic for our main battles for the east, to eventually can reinforce and join them and hit them head on. The raided parties too got sloppy. We managed to ambush them on a few occasions. After we finally had taken that town, but it was lacking food, it was lacking resources, and plenty of opportunity for them to rebel. As we sent most of our troops to move on, starving, lack of food to take the next town. We had to move quickly, we had to take the east. As some of the raiding parties were trying to sneak over the bridges, we were doing our best to cut them off and finally surround them. They were too far into our territory to be allowed to go any further. Time went on, our troops marched on, started fighting other locations, trying to take down the bridge, trying to finally move over to the west as reinforcements arrived. But they had many troops over there, many elite, very experienced troops, as we tried to lure them out with our horse cavalry, while we split them and hit them in the back with our full force. We had the numbers on our side, they had the experience. We knew we had it in us to take Britain and then move on to Europe, but for now the battles raged on. We were lacking siege equipment, and our lack of resources was taking us far too long to create them. It would have saved many, many lives if we had it. But our towns were trying to create them, but the armies couldn't wait, they kept moving on. As our numbers grew and grew, we were showing numbers as we travelled through the dense forests, trying to keep our army together the best we can. We even got to see our first ever boats. One day we planned to have a full fleet of and take not only Europe but the world. More sieges, more deaths, more slaves. but they were still defiant, even while we were capturing them. Firing arrows, killing our troops. And trying to run away from us. We kept on fighting battle after battle. Bloodshed was horrid. But the sweet taste of victory when we won another battle was amazing. Our armies grew and marched forward. More and more villagers were joining our armies from our new captives, joining the cause to one day have world peace under one empire, the British Empire. To eventually we had taken all of Britain, and our troops were heading to a nearby village to rest, ready for the eventual trek across the sea to take Europe. As our resources arrived and our troops came home, they deserved the rest, as they had many more battles ahead of them. After a good rest, the troops were all meant to come out for inspection. And it was a great day, a glorious day of victory. Britain was finally ours. British Empire had begun, united under one flag. And how do I know all this, you ask? I was a troop, one of the very soldiers who fought in these battles. You might be even visiting me right now, before I left for Europe.